It's always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot woot. Hi everyone, this is Julie from Patchworks, and I am so excited that you're joining us for Must Sew TV Thursday night. We have our February Aurifil presentation for you today, and we're going to be talking about this amazing red panda paper pieced pattern by Cassandra Beaver and the gorgeous thread box with the beautiful 40 weight threads in red that we have for you. So let us get started. Our Aurifil Club has a capsule of colors that is released to you every single month. We started in January with gray, and in February we have red. In addition to the threads, you also receive an endangered species block of the month from Aurifil, designed by Cassandra Beavers. This is exclusive to Aurifil Club members. Memberships are still available. We have annual subscriptions available for $3.99 or by the month for $39.99. If you sign up for the year, you get 2 months free, so that's pretty spectacular. Another benefit of being an Aurifil Club is that you get 20% off of everything in stock that we have for Aurifil every single day. So, with our pattern that we have here for you, we have selected to continue with our same colored background. In the cover photo here from Cassandra, she changes up her background every single month and then puts all of the 12 different animals together at the end. What we're going to do is that I'm going to use a cohesive background for all of them, and then we'll sash it and put it together in some sort of festive way afterwards. These also make really great wall hangings if you just wanted to finish them up as mini quilts. With your red pack, you are going to be receiving some beautiful fabrics here as well. So why don't I tell you about the thread first? Doesn't that sound like a good idea? All right, so this month the theme is Red Panda, and Red Panda is one of the endangered species featured with the partnership with the Earth League International. Red pandas are located in the eastern Himalayas with a population of less than 10,000 in the whole world. This month's colors are 5002, 2250, and 1103. You can see that we have a combination of warm to cool as well as light to dark in this range. We have paired up some fabrics to go along with that, and the Bella Solids that we're using to go along with our threads this month are Betty's Red, color 123, Country Red, color 17, and Burgundy, which is color 18. Of course, you could use any red fabrics that you'd like. Also, if you prefer to use a textured solid or a batik, feel free to do that as well. Let us take a closer look at our red panda that we're going to be working on today. I'm just going to pull her down and put her underneath here so that we can see. Now this month we are going a little bit smaller than some of the pieces that we had last month. So this is definitely a skill building exercise that we have here. Let's look at it from on top. All right, so in this beautiful block here, you can see all of these little tiny pieces. I'm actually going to take a tiny quick little bit more of a close-up look here so that you can see it even more close up. All right, So you can see here some of the tiny, tiny pieces that we have there. When you're working with small pieces like this, what's important to make sure that you do is, number one, as you're piecing things together, keep organized to make sure that the color goes where you think it's going to go, but also you have something unique with a bulk issue. So with anything paper pieced, you might very well have a bulk issue. I've left most of my papers on, but what you can see is that I have peeled away some of them as I was piecing them. And as you are pressing, you actually press them however they want to go. So I continue to use the add a quarter ruler. There is a smaller lip called the add an eighth ruler, which you absolutely can use. What I do is I like to be consistent, use my add a quarter, and then after I piece it, if I need to trim a little bit away, I just take my scissors and trim it a little bit. So with the block here, I have some tips to keep you organized, because I said organization was the name of the game. So with a project like this, I like to have a bin, and I'm going to pull my bin for you here, that I keep everything that I'm going to be working for with this project. So I had my fabrics from last month, and because I have my teacher samples here, I do have a larger quantity of fabric so that I can be making multiples of things. And then for this month, I added in my reds and then the other fabrics that I need. So I'm going to be using the dark gray that we had used last month, and then adding in a white, 2 pinks, 2 purples, a navy, and then pulling a little bit of the black that we used last month as well. The color choices that we used will be provided in our club email going out right after this presentation. As I prepare my fabric, I make sure to starch everything. So make sure I starch what I need to have. And then as I'm cutting, I'm going to have these instructions for you as well, nice and typed up for you. You will cut what you need per block. As I'm cutting per block, I do like to have things organized per the piece, and I just stack them up one through whatever and take a wonder clip and put it together like this as a unit and set it aside until I'm ready to stitch it. As I'm putting it together, I double check my pieces and order just to make sure that everything is in line. Okay, but having pre-cut and keeping things like this just helps me stay organized. If you hadn't watched our paper piecing introduction, where we had put together this little flower, this Carol Doak flower, I highly recommend that you go into our YouTube channel and check it out so that you can get some of the fundamentals of using the add a quarter ruler and staying organized with pre-cutting fabric, so that working on a more advanced project like this can be much easier for you. Okay, so talked about fabric staying organized, talked about layering things together to keep each of your units together. What else do I have for you? Well, I want to make sure that as you're putting things together, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this particular assembly of the order, a pattern like this has a compound unit here. Let's look at this overhead. Okay, so this particular unit right here is going to be this end piece. So you can see this piece right here is longer than a sheet of paper. So what Cassandra did is that she printed it on two pages that you are going to assemble before you piece it. In this particular pattern, we have several pattern pieces that we need to pre-assemble. So let's do that right now. When we print things out, you want to make sure that this does measure that inch scale to make sure everything's going to size up together. So I'm taking my paper scissors, doing a rough cut here. Now here I need to be very careful that I cut on my line. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is line this up. Let's look at it a little bit closer, a little bit more close up here. I need to make sure that I line this up. So not, do you see that? It will take two hands to make it be perfect, perfect, perfect. What I like to do first before I tape it is do a glue dab to make sure I can kind of reposition it, and then I'll tape it. So I will go back to the overhead and show you how I dab it with glue and then tape it to put it in position. Okay, so I'm going to take my handy dandy glue stick, my Soline glue stick here, put a little bit of base glue there. Going to line this up, and that nice thing about that glue is that you're able to kind of eke it around if you need to. I'm satisfied with how that looks, so I will flip it over and put a piece of tape. So Scotch tape is actually one of your friends in paper piecing. Puts patterns together, and also what you can do with it is that if you would tear the pattern as you're working with it, you would put a little bit of Scotch tape on to help it along the way. So this here, I would be ready to work with this particular unit. Let us look at some of the other shapes or process as how we're going to look at this. So I got my graphics back on my little device here. So I want to show you. Let's see if I can make this go down here. Okay, so I said we would be pre-piecing some things. So we're going to start over in the left side of the screen where we're going to pre-piece A. And then we are going to pre-piece 3 other units, okay, before we get going on making everything, before we start piecing things. We want to make sure that we pre-piece the paper rather than add that extra seam during assembly. Here's a picture of all of the units, A through V, that we are going to be using in this particular animal. And you can see there are quite a few, which is where staying organized can be very, very helpful. When you're working with these small units, you need to assemble them into larger units. And so I really like that Cassandra has given us some guidance as to how to connect them really bit by bit. So you just you make at first all of your individual units, and then you're looking at the guides to be able to put each of these sections together. And then we're going to look at a bigger section here as things just continue to come together. You can see that face is just so many tiny, tiny pieces. And then lastly, you can see how it all flows. Let's look back at our block. And you can see the grunge with the nice shading in the back here really sets it off. There is some white. I used the Bella Solid Super White to provide a little bit of shading. So even though it's against this really light background, you can see the distinction of that white there. If you had chosen an even lighter background and you wanted to stay true to the white of the face on this particular animal, what you could do is when you're finishing it, you could stitch around to be able to accent that when you're finishing, so you can really have that face stand out. We also have an embroidery pattern that Aurifil has provided, and I have not made that one up, but you can see that it is a small animal that mimics our paper pieced unit. You can put that together with your 40 weight threads. I am super excited because Jackie last month put together, she actually stitched out the elephants from last month. So she stitched it out 3 different times. I have 2 pictures here of how she stitched things. So this, she put it on a light gray grunge, and that is so pretty. She used a little bit of green threads for her grass. She said it stitched out really nice. And just so you can see how different things look when you change your background, she changed it here and used a really dark grunge for this background. And you can see that the elephant appears much lighter. Go back here to our main screen here. This is definitely an undertaking, and last month I had talked about how we would spend a little bit of time putting this together in real life, and what I want to do is next Wednesday, the March 3rd, I am going to be doing a Facebook Live in the afternoon with a sit and sew, okay? So I'm going to be sitting for a live session where I will be piecing together several of these units. Well, not several. I'll be piecing together one whole, more complicated unit, and then I'm going to be putting together a unit because these are very odd shapes. So showing you how you can put 2 of these units together. So club members, you'll have the opportunity to pick up your materials before then so that we can sit together and put a unit together. That could be a lot of fun. I know a lot of you have work, different schedule issues. This will be saved. It's only going to be on Facebook. It's not going to be on YouTube. Let me know if you have certain issues with being able to see it. But we want to be able to have it be a little bit more interactive. So we will be sharing just nuts and bolts of working on specific issues for this particular block. We're hoping that we'll see what type of additional interaction we can have to really have you be successful with this project, because this is definitely a skill builder with all of the pieces that we have in this particular project. I did want to mention I had found this particular tool, this Clover Roll-and Press, and this is really nice to have right next to my sewing table so that I'm actually able to roll my seams and don't have to worry about going to a heat element every single time for every single seam. I find this is very, very effective, especially when I've pre-starched all of my fabrics. So just want to plug that little tool here. This Clover Roll-and Press is really a very helpful product for making this particular block. All right. So this is just so pretty. We have two beautiful blocks that we've been putting together. On the Aurifil website, what they've also done is that they are showcasing another Aurifil designer who is working on quilting these. We'll be getting into quilting farther along our club. One thing that they did mention this particular month, which I wanted to share with you, and I sometimes don't think about this. So when you are quilting a project, this 40 weight is wonderful for being on the top. And then what you can do is you can use the same color in 50 weight, so a little bit thinner thread on the bottom. Okay, so two reasons why you'd want to do that. So number one, 40 weight is thicker, and so a thicker thread, you can get less thread on a bobbin, right? So if you use a 50 weight thread, which is a thinner thread, you can get more thread on the bobbin. So it's always nice to have more thread on the bobbin, and being able to use the same color in two different weights helps you be able to get more thread on the bobbin and still see the fancy thread on top. Another reason why you might want to use 40 weight on the top and 50 on the bottom is that from a tension perspective, if you've ever quilted and you've noticed that things come up so that you have pop-ups, using a heavier weight on the top and a lighter weight on the bobbin can help the thread sink in, and then having you have less of a chance of having pop-ups on the top. Okay, all these technical things. So, and that would be the same if you're appliquing or if you're quilting. So you really have that dual reason. So number one, more thread on the bobbin. Number two, being able to have less of a tension issue for pop throughs on the top. All right. Speaking of color builders and new things and all sorts of wonderful things here at Patchworks, last month we shared with you that we were putting together a grunge pack for every single month for our color builders. So we're a little short on red grunge right now, so we are going to be building our red grunge color builders pack as soon as we get our red grunge fabric back in. In the interim, we built a beautiful background stack that we are calling Snow. All the snow's melting. Isn't that great? Let's look at it overhead here and look at the beautiful backgrounds, because you know we never have enough background fabric. So we have some grunge dots, some plain, some stars, a little bit darker. Now we're getting into some dirty snow, you know, that kind that's hanging out on those snow piles right now that just don't want to melt, into some cream. So every single month we're introducing at least one, because we want to hit every component of the color wheel, that you can be collecting some base fabrics in addition to collecting your threads. So These don't particularly match this month. Next month they will match, but since we don't have a white pack, we figured we needed to introduce this particular neutral pack and be prepared for a few other bonus grunge color builder packs along the way. We've been getting lots and lots of fabric in lately, which is awesome. We love the fabric. So there's still some shipping interruptions throughout the world that impact when things are coming. But you know what? As long as we're getting fun fabric, it doesn't matter. So I want to show you the latest. I just pulled the plastic off to show you tonight. We have two beautiful Cafe fabrics here. Oh, and we have the red, so it's the red into the pink, and then here we have a little bit of green, and so you have the warm and cool together. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Part of the February 2021 Cafe Collective release. We are going to be a participating shop in the Gather No Moss quilt along, which will be happening this summer. We haven't talked about it yet because, well, I feel like we've just been starting all sorts of fun things and summer seems a long time away, but we will be following along and offering kits in that in 3 of the colorways. So that will be super exciting. Oh, look at this. Just have to show you. Oh, so beautiful, so gorgeous. We don't have a ton of Cafe in the shop, but we do like to carry a lot of the cooler colors. So those cool reds and blues and greens. Another fun collection that we just got in is from Ann Kelly, and we'll look at this overhead. Some cute novelties here. Oh, so we have some happy tomatoes and then these super cute succulents. Oh, it's so cute. Really cool. Robert Kaufman. And we have these as well as some beautiful coordinates in stock for that. What else is going on? Well, we have show and tell from we showed you the show and tell from last month, and that was Jackie's embroidered elephants. I want to remind you or share with you, if you didn't know, that we have a Facebook group called Patchwork Party, and this is the graphic, so you know you're at the right place for that group. That gives you the ability to share, show, and tell with each other. I also like to repost things that we share on our regular feed, let you know things that are happening, some insider news, so that you don't miss a thing. The way that algorithms and Facebook work is sometimes you don't see things right away from our store page, but you tend to see things more from a group. So whenever I post anything, you see it right away, and that's super awesome for staying connected. With the show and tell and with my graphics now working again on our little video console, I want you to share with me your Aurifil Club show and tell by next month. So anything you have, I'd love to include it in our club presentation. And I'm going to be keeping our show and tell to a few items for the club that it's relevant to, but I would love to see it, and also make sure to share it in that Facebook group so that you can share with each other. Lots of fun things coming up. I was saying that we're going to be having a interactive Facebook Live little sit and sew for our red panda. We're going to be putting together a unit I'll be putting together a unit as well as I'll be joining 2 units together. So that will be interactive. You'll be able to ask questions along the way, and hopefully it'll be a really great learning experience. If you're not able to join us March 3rd, which is a Wednesday at 3 p.m., it will be available for replay for as long as you need it. On March 4th, we will have our We Heart Tula Pink Club, and that will feature block 3 of Nebula. On March 11th, we have block 2 of My Favorite Color is Moda. That is a fun program. On March 18th, we will have Moda University. And on March 25th, we will have our March installment of Aurifil Club. I hope you've been enjoying our different presentations, our different content. We're looking to share lots of things with you. I'm going to be sharing with you as we get them the different samples that we're making. Heidi's making right now a beautiful bumblebee quilt, so you'll be able to see that. It's not a club-specific project, so I'll show that to you as soon as it's finished. We just keep moving everything around, have a fun selection of Easter fabric and spring fabric. We only have 2 St. Patrick's Day fabrics available yet, so if you're looking for those, make sure to stop on in soon to get those. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you are sewing up a storm. Thank you for watching. Happy quilting, and see you soon.